Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about another Turner product for my M2, and that's going to be their high kick trunk spoiler I've got here. And this is a pretty good looking piece in my opinion. You can see from the side profile here that it actually curves up and sits above the trunk quite a bit, so it'll definitely do a little bit more than that tiny little dinky thing they put on there from the factory. And this is compatible with all of the BMW F2X 2 Series and your F87 M2s. So what that means is whether you have a regular 2 Series or the M2, BMW uses the same trunk on them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And it is nice because that means there's a greater amount or a greater market for this piece, which means parts overall can be a little bit cheaper. And speaking of that, this part comes in somewhere around, let's say, the $400 mark. So it's nothing terribly expensive, but it's also not the absolute cheapest stuff where you really got to worry about it. Now, I probably should have made this segment of the video when I first got this, but in my excitement, I rushed off to RJ's paint shop in Pleasanton and had them paint this sunset orange, the same color as my car. And the reason why I didn't just leave it bare carbon fiber is I saw someone else at Sonoma Raceway that had this spoiler on their M2, and they had it body colored or paint matched, and I just thought it looked fantastic. So especially I was sold from that point. I knew I had to do that. So anyhow, RJ's did a fantastic job for me, and they really gave me a lot more insight to the part itself. So before agreeing to paint this for me, they really wanted to inspect the quality of the part to make sure I'd be happy and that it would be something up to their level of work. And what they gave me insight on is that this seems to be a well-shaped piece, but it's definitely not a higher end piece. And the couple of things that they found on it were, well, when this originally comes, it's just your carbon fiber with a clear coat on top. But the clear coating is kind of thin, and it's thin enough such that Turner didn't build up enough on here, so you still feel the texture of the weave and where the strands interleave with each other, those little gaps. Well, you had little depressions or dips there. So with a higher amount of clear fill, they could have evened that out. Additionally, there were some slightly misshapen parts on here, right in the center on this leading edge on the inside. One of it has like a little bit of a warpage, or it stands off a bit. It's nothing critical, but it's one thing I noticed, and RJ said, yeah, that's just how it came out of the mold. But a little bit more significant than that was right in the center here of the inside. It also had some warpage, and RJ said, it's up to you whether you want to accept the piece or not. But they also said since they were painting this for me, they would try and fill it a bit to even it out, so that it really wouldn't be noticeable. And I think they did. They actually did a really good job. Looking at it from the side here, I can notice a little bit of that warpage right here, but it's not glaringly obvious, and definitely not as much as it was before they worked their magic on it. So I'm very appreciative to them on that. So anyhow, what does all this mean? It means you're getting a fair part for the money. This is not an expensive $1,000, $2,000 carbon fiber part, but it's also not one of those, let's say, $100 to $200 garbage pieces you might find off of eBay. So that said, let's go ahead and let's toss this on the car. All right, guys, so we're in the garage now, and I'm just going to start by spraying this area down, and using my microfiber towel to just clean the area so that we don't have any dust, dirt, or grime that may interfere, scratch the paint, or make the adhesive not stick very well. Next, we can start removing the old spoiler, and what I'm going to do is just going to take a little bit of a dental floss here, get it under that edge, and I kind of want this on the upper edge, so I'm kind of pulling up like this and making this sawing motion. So as you can see, I'm doing the sawing motion, and you can see I am cutting through the old double-sided tape used to secure the original spoiler. Now, if you want to make this a little bit easier on yourself, you can also take that floss, wrap it around two markers or something like this, and tape it there so that it's not really digging into your hands as you're sawing this. It just generally makes it a little bit easier. So here I am. I'm just using these markers as something to pull this floss with as I'm slowly sawing the old adhesive out of the way. And as you release more and more of the spoiler, you can go ahead and just kind of grab it and pull it up just a little bit to make sure that it's not re-sticking or anything. So we'll go through cycles of sawing that old adhesive, and then just lightly pulling up on the spoiler gently. So I'm going to be working this from both ends, not just the one side we started on. So go ahead and alternate sides as you're sawing this adhesive, for the old spoiler. So another thing you can do is you can use, a non-marring trim tool, and you kind of need to be able to pull this up enough. But once you can, then you can go ahead and just slide that trim tool in there and kind of use that to break the bond. So go alternate cycles of lifting this up to get enough clearance for there, then breaking the adhesive bond. And this works also to get the old spoiler off. And after a little while and you've finally gotten the rest of it off, then we can go ahead and pull off the original spoiler. Now let's take a look at the stock spoiler adhesive. You can see that on both edges, right? There's one edge and the other over there. They have a much higher fill rate of the double-sided tape or the adhesive, and then it just goes into like these two strips on the fore and aft edges of the spoiler. So when you put your new one on, and if yours didn't come with tape, well, try and do it kind of in this pattern. On the Turner one, I think I'm probably going to add a little bit more to the edges, just because the stock one was like that, and the Turner one, well, it just has two strips fore and aft the whole way around. But that's just something to kind of keep an eye on or take note of. So next is probably the worst part about putting a new spoiler on, and that is like removing all of this old adhesive. You can spend hours trying to take your thumb and just push and roll the material up and ball it up. But they also make these eraser wheels now, and there's genuine 3M ones. There's also generic ones on Amazon. The generic ones tend to not last as long, but if you're only getting this for one spoiler, then it should be plenty. And anyhow, you put these on your drill, and then you just kind of go and you rub off or erase the old adhesive off of the trunk. Now, when you're doing this, be very careful not to hold the wheel in one spot too long, because you can burn through the clear coat of the paint. So just be mindful and a little bit delicate with it as you're going and erasing the old adhesive off. So you can see I'm not spending too much time on any one area, and I'm only just doing very, very little pressure in order to remove this. Alright, so all the adhesive is off, but you can see there's a bunch of eraser bits and whatnot, so let's just go ahead and spray everything down again, and we'll get this area nice and clean. And I'm also going to hit this area with some of this specialized all-purpose cleaner. And I'm also going to hit the area with some isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol. Now that the area is clean, let's go ahead and take the new spoiler, and we'll go ahead and just kind of put it on here and rest it, because what we're going to do is we're going to mock it up and mark where it needs to be. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking it and I'm setting it down and sliding it over and checking the gap between the edge of the spoiler and the edge of the trunk, kind of right around here, such that this gap is even on both sides. So looking at this here, I have 3 millimeters on one side, and on this side I have a gap of 3 millimeters. So we are aligned perfectly in the center. And so now what I'm going to do is I am going to take some masking tape and just kind of put it along with the edge of where the spoiler is going to sit, so that I can accurately place this thing down once we take the tape backer off. So I'm going to mark the side, and I'm also going to mark this front part as well. Okay, you know how earlier I was talking about the amount of adhesive on the edge here? Well, you can see this white back tape. I added that in addition to the one that Turner supplies on here. And in order to do that, I did buy some 3M VHB, and VHB stands for Very High Bond. And I measured the thickness of the tape on this particular spoiler, because I wanted to get one that was the same thickness, and it looked like it was about you know, like 3/4 of a millimeter thick. I think it came out to about the 30 mil, so 30 thousandths of an inch thickness tape. So that's what I went on Amazon and just bought. So if you want to add some more on the edges, like I did, then you can go ahead and look for that appropriate thickness tape. Okay, so another thing that I want you to see that I've done is I've gone ahead and peeled back the backer off of these double-sided tapes, wrapped them around the outside of the spoiler where I can access them, and then I've gone ahead and masking taped them there. And this is so when I place this down, I can get everything aligned, and then I can pull this liner off as I go along the edge and place the spoiler down. Now I've also gone ahead and done the exact same thing to the other side because, well, let's just say for some reason this red backer breaks off in the middle of doing this. You know, it'd be kind of hard to start from this end when you haven't already pre-peeled back those edges. So just going ahead and doing that to make it easy for myself. Then what I can do is I can go ahead and using this masking tape, a template I've made for myself, very handy, I can go ahead and place the spoiler down on there, get it indexed into place, and once that's, you know, on my alignment masking tape here where I said I was going to put it down, then I can go ahead and press down on this section, and I can also begin to peel away this this liner underneath so that the double-sided tape can fully bond. And you can see on this one here, it already, you know, that backing already tore a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I get the rest of it over here, and then watch out for that as I'm slowly doing the rest. All right, so I've got this edge aligned and this, you know, the very edge of it secured. So now I can go ahead and start pulling out this tape backing and then getting to the trunk lid. And I'm doing it on this front side, and I've also got the other piece of tape over on the back side down here that I'm also doing the same thing, you know, pulling that liner out and then pressing down. All right, now that spoiler's on, I'm going to go ahead and just spray down the deck lid again and just get everything nice and clean. Additionally, another thing you can do if you want to make sure this is really secure is you can put some clamps on the trunk and the top side of the spoiler. So, you know, I've got this side edge, you know, very firmly clamped, and I'm going to leave it like that for a couple of hours. You know, the most common complaint that people have is this edge starts lifting, or, you know, the center part is very secure, but these edges peel up a little bit. If you clamp it down, let it hold for a while till everything sets, you're not going to have that problem. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how this Turner high kick spoiler is turning out for my M2, and I'm really looking forward to getting the car on the road so I can, you know, get some better full car shots for you guys to see how it looks. You know, about $400-ish, you're getting a pretty decent mid-grade quality part. You know, it's not absolutely perfect. There are some things here or there that could be improved, but it's also, you know, not, you know, completely not fitting at all, and you're just going to walk away disappointed. If you decide to paint yours like mine, well, depending on where you live, that may effectively double the price, but in my opinion, on a color like this, it's well worth it. If you got something like a gray or a black, well, you're probably better off saving your money and just letting the natural carbon fiber blend in. That said, I am interested to see from other folks who get it and do not paint it, how well that clear coat lasts, considering it's not the thickest coat in the world. Of course, if you paint it, you never have to worry about that at all.